Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Apex Online Racing for some more Hype Energy F2 League action on the PlayStation 4. Tonight is round 2 out of 22 here in Season 20, and will we see another great performance from the Red Bull team? They took a 1-2 last time out in Australia. Will they be able to repeat it under the lights here in Bahrain? It is the Bahrain Grand Prix. I'm Luke Etheridge, and I will be taking you through the action tonight. 18 minutes, I should say, of qualifying. Then, of course, the 50% race distance here around the Sakhir International Circuit. First used in Formula 1 in 2004. Not changed much since then. They experimented with a different layout in 2010. They'll be experimenting with another different layout in the Sakhir Grand Prix in 2020. And of course, they did go under the lights in 2014, where we saw that epic battle with Hamilton and Rosberg. And hopefully, we will get some epic battling from the drivers that are here tonight. If you weren't with us last time for the Australian Grand Prix, as I said, it was a 1-2 from the Red Bull team. But it was actually this man, Sam Gamer Official, who crossed the line in the first position. But a multitude of penalties, he is still hoping to get some of them removed by the stewards, did cost him, dropped him down into 4th position. But it was the Red Bull of Simo Casiaro who took the victory and the fastest lap, his teammate in 2nd, and Suku in the McLaren with a 3rd position. So Red Bull looking very good, but still obviously extremely early days in the championship, and it'll be interesting to see how the drivers cope with this circuit. Can't quite promise you the same levels of chaos that we had in the Tuscan Grand Prix today, but one thing is for sure, there will be plenty of exciting action, plenty of closeness. Hopefully we'll be able to match the F1 fraction, the AOR F1 League, that is, where we saw practically the entire grid separated by half a second. So hopefully we'll be able to get some similar performances tonight, and we will actually soon let Sam take us around on a lap of this circuit. As I said, first used back in 2004, where Michael Schumacher took victory in that dominant record-breaking season with 13 victories. Will we see a victory for the Ferrari team tonight with William? He got points last time out, and Pedro making his debut. But for now, let's go on board with the Mercedes of Sam Gamer, heading across the start-finish line. DRS Open, a 1 kilometre long straight, one of the longest straights in Formula 1, provides the best overtaking opportunity at the end of the braking zone. Heavy braking down into turn 1. Sam just snatching a front right tyre, but getting away with it. Coming through 2 and 3, DRS Open once again on the run down towards turn 4, where you can pass round the inside or round the outside, as Lando Norris did on Pierre Gasly last season. Coming down through this SS section now, 5, 6 and 7. Need to be careful on the exit curve here, as many driver has clipped that and found their race ended in the barrier. Nice and clean through the hairpin there from Sam. He's got a bit of traffic of Coutinho ahead of him, who moves out of the way. Turn 9 and 10, extremely tricky braking zone here. You can see there Sam locking up a front wheel. Don't be surprised if many others do that in qualifying, especially in the race once the tyres start to wear out. He now heads down towards turn 11. It is a DRS straight, that one. Really doesn't provide much of an overtaking opportunity though, unless the car in front of you makes a mistake. Again, coming through turn 12, need to be careful not to hit the inside curve as you go through there. And then along around turn 13, down the back straight. This is where the outer circuit will rejoin the main circuit when that gets used in the Sakhir Grand Prix. Coming around the final 2 corners now, take a late apex from 14, flat through the kink at turn 15. What will be the opening gambit in this qualifying session from Sam, 124.952. To compare that to the F1 time, we saw 124.376. So very respectable first effort by Sam. We'll see if anyone can beat it. Fidele, he's going around now. He looks as though he's just relaxing actually, and not really going flat out at this moment in time. It's actually this man who's just crossed the line in 5th place. It was actually Giggs who took pole position last year here in F2. Didn't have the greatest of races though in F2. I think by his standards he'll admit didn't have the greatest of seasons. Did manage to sneak a couple of points last time out in Australia though. But despite qualifying on pole here in season 19, could only finish in 12th position in the race. Tyre management, oh so crucial around this Bahrain international circuit. Not as much as it was when they used to race in the daytime. Obviously, the lack of sun means the tyre temperature nowhere near as high as you will get, but still need to be careful on these soft tyres, especially if you're in the top 10. You could see a few drivers, maybe those starting outside the top 10, going for the mediums onto the hard tyres. That could work out to be the better strategy. Drez has invalidated his lap. We'll see what last week's race winner is doing. Semo Cassiaro had a good qualifying last time out. Did very well in the race, just because of controlled it. Once he got onto that alternate strategy, nice and easy for him. Knew he didn't need to get ahead of Sam. Did all the work to take himself a win. And as we said, a 1-2 in the end for the Red Bull team, with Fidele getting second position. So unsurprisingly, Red Bull with a massive lead already for this stage of the season, at least in the Constructors' Championship. When you consider the Championship in the Constructors season 19 was separated by 4 points, Red Bull already have a 29-point lead over McLaren. Mercedes and Racing Point tied for third on 12 points, and Williams, Ferrari, Haas and AlphaTauri, and you've got Renault and Alfa Romeo yet to score. So we'll have to see what Renault and Alfa Romeo can do, especially Semo heads across the line in 8th place. Talking of Renault, here's one of their drivers making his debut tonight in F2 for this season, VRT_Boss Wanted. And last time out, we do have a incident to report from the stewards. Didn't have any effect in the end on the finishing positions. You might remember there was a collision between Coutinho and Pasti, as Coutinho tried to overtake Pasti around the outside at turn 3 in Australia. That did lead to Pasti in the end getting a 10-second penalty, but he finished 11th on track, and in the end that didn't knock him down, stayed in 11th position. There comes Alejandro then in the Alfa Romeo. Safe to say, wasn't the best of races last time for the Alfa Romeo team. Lars, who's absent tonight, as Alejandro's absolutely butchered turn 2 there. Surely that's an invalidation that hasn't come up, because I'll be very surprised with the strict corner crossing if he's got away with that. It looks as though he seems to be pushing definitely, and it hasn't said he's invalidated, but I would be very surprised because he absolutely missed turn 3, pretty much straight lined it. Didn't look as though he lifted off too much, and you can actually see you just saw all his tyres there above 100 degrees. I said tyre temperature can be critical around here, especially on the rear tyres. A lot of traction zones. He's just gone through one there at 9 and 10. Turn 8 as well. Another corner with traction. Obviously turn 1 and 4 you need to get good traction down. So important that you keep those rear tyres in a good operating temperature. Don't want to be spinning them and sliding too much out of the corners. Otherwise you will be in heaps of trouble in the race. One stop is definitely the quickest strategy. You don't want to be going for that 2 stop, as we'll see what Alejandro can do here. One of the few drivers out on a hot lap at the moment. The Red Bulls from last time, 7 and 9th. We have got a Mercedes on pole again though. Last time it was Deso who's absent tonight, but Sam Gamer, the only man in the 124s at the moment, and Alejandro, his lap wasn't invalidated surprisingly, but it is a 125.625 from him. Just over 10 minutes to go. That puts him in 11th then. And Speedster is second in the AlphaTauri, William third, both behind Sam at the moment. But you can see, looking fairly close at the moment. Top 8 cars separated by half a second. We've still got Drez and Pedro in the pits as well, so it'll be interesting to see whether they're going to go out later on. Drez has already had one run and invalidated his lap, as Alejandro is taking the shortcut way around this circuit, and that definitely invalidates your lap time. Trying to get back to the pits as quickly as possible. We have got a few drivers now heading out on their second laps. Here's the man who shared the podiums with the Red Bulls last time, Suku, in the McLaren. Let's see what he can do here then. We've got Speedster just cleverly decided to get out of the way there of Giggs. Don't want to get in any trouble at all for blocking, otherwise you could well find yourself with a qualifying ban. And that will ruin your chances at the next race, which will be the first time in AOR F1 history, a brand new track to the F1 2020 game, the Vietnam Grand Prix. Make sure not to miss that. There's always a risk of Vietnam with rain, which I think is one thing you could say fairly safely that you're not going to get here in Bahrain. The only time you're going to see rain in Bahrain is in the name, so don't think we'll be seeing any of that. Suku, 6th position at this moment in time. We'll see how he does through Sector 2. You would obviously expect improvements as the track evolves, and this might give us a bit of an idea, as Sam's that's definitely given us a bit of an idea. He's put an extra 3 tenths off his time. He goes fastest again with a 1:24.618. Suku's 1.5 tenths up at the moment. That would boost him into 4th position ahead of Coutinho and Pasti, who could be very close again, which might get a bit interesting after their incident last time around. So might have that to watch out for heading towards turn 1. Alejandro in that 11th place at the moment, which gives you 3 tyres, of course, as Suku in the end somehow manages to split Coutinho and Pasti Swaker, as we just see Pasti actually go up to become the second man into the 1:24. So very good lap from him. And William just behind, a 1:24.911. Great lap from William. Managed to finish in 7th position last time out, and he'll be hoping for a good performance. It looks like he could well get an improvement on that here. We'll see who else is out on the lap at the moment. We've got the Williams of Coutinho. Obviously had that incident last time, meant he finished in 12th place. His teammate, who's not here tonight, Super Mario, got a 5th position, so we'll see if Coutinho can get into the points. He was actually looking pretty good for a point score before he got involved in that incident, and to be honest, not many teams managed to get both cars into points. Red Bull, obviously, with Simo and Fadeli managing to get that 1-2. The only other team to do it actually have, well, only one of their drivers here tonight, and that is Racing Point. Boehner, who's currently 5th, he finished 6th last time around, and Alex Pro managed to get an 8th position. So we'll have to see if Boehner can keep up the good performance that Racing Point had last time out. Coutinho trying to get into the 1:24s then to maybe sneak onto the front row of the grid, and he's done that. 1:24.906 puts him in 2nd place with 7 minutes remaining. We have got Drez and Pedro out on their first laps as well. Drez did not finish last time around, and Pedro obviously absent in the first race, so good to see him back. Was in F2 last season, was the Ferrari. Had a pretty decent season as well. Didn't set the world on fire, but managed to finish in 6th place. So he's a very consistent driver and could well be one to watch this season. This is our first real chance of seeing what sort of pace the Ferrari man can set. Drez has just got an Alfa Romeo with Alejandro ahead of him. That might give him a very slight tow down this straight, and the McLaren goes into 7th position, just ahead of his teammate. Pedro coming around the final corner then. Can he get near his teammate? William currently in 3rd place. The Ferrari comes towards the line. Quite a way off in the end. Only 8th position. Red Bulls, who did very well last time, obviously in the race, 10th and 12th at the moment. For Daly, only moving up 1 place. It looks like we're going to see a bigger improvement though from Simo. And indeed we do. He goes into 6th place. Last week's race winner, just over 1.5 tenths at the moment off of the front row. It's looking very close in that 1:24.9s, 1:25.0s. You've got 7 drivers in that time, but well out on top at the moment. Going for a 3rd run, it seems. Sam Gamer, nearly 3 tenths of a second faster than the entire field at the moment, which is separated by just over a second. Looking very close indeed. Alejandro improving, getting very close to cutting the track limits again on that straight there, but perfectly fine with that. Managed to just keep part of his wheel on the right side of the white line, and that's all you can ask for. And he's actually finding some big improvements here in the Alfa Romeo. He can have a good final couple of corners here. He could get himself up into that group between 2nd and 8th position. So a lot of cars in that place. This could all be about nailing the final couple of corners, which it looks like he has done. So we'll see where this puts Alejandro. Lost a bit of time in the final sector, as it turns out. Only 11th for him. Giggs, who was, to be honest, towards the bottom of the order, was originally meant to be in F3, but he got his chance here in F2. And as I said, very respectable points performance last time around, so he'll be hoping for the same again if he can keep it clean. And as we saw in today's Tuscan Grand Prix, if you can keep it clean, if you can avoid all the carnage, can just get rewarded with a good result if you can keep a cool head when everyone around you seems to be losing theirs. So we'll see what Giggs can do then on this lap. 3.5 tenths on his personal best at the moment, which will pretty much only bring him closer to Suku. And to say Suku was just ahead of Drez at the moment, you've seen that gap fill up as well, because Suku's now down into 13th place, the man who got on the podium last time out. The people who finished 2nd and 3rd, currently 12th and 13th in this qualifying session. That is a very good lap from Giggs and showing some great pace, getting himself up into 5th position, just moving ahead of Speedster for now. Suku just starting a flying lap, as is Sam. He's a bit down on his personal best at the moment, but So he was the only man to get into the 124s on his first run. Found a big improvement at 3/10 of a second on his second run. What will he do on his third run, which could well be his final one here? If you go for the balanced tyre settings, you do only use to get 3 sets of the soft tyres. And he's probably on that third set now, unless he used a scrub set perhaps on his second run, or if this is a scrubbed set. So we'll have to see how he does now towards the finish line. Doesn't look as though it's going to be anything spectacular to move further ahead, but could just well solidify what's been a very good qualifying session from him. And let's not forget his teammate was on pole last time and he's dived into the pit, so maybe feeling he's got a chance to improve a bit more on another run. Suku is improving a tiny bit more at the moment. He's 1.5 tenths up. That would be good enough to get him into that top 10, but as I said earlier, being outside the top 10 isn't going to be the disaster that it can be. Can overtake around here with the 3 DRS zones, and if it's an extremely close qualifying with the tyre temperatures, sometimes starting on the mediums going to the hards can be a benefit, and that's a great lap from Suku. 124.996 puts him up then into 5th position for now. We've got most of the drivers in the pits, few just starting hot laps. That'll be William and Pasty on their hot laps now. What's Sam still on top, Coutinho in 2nd position. Most of the drivers now going on to their final run. Suku, he's happy with how he's done. He's retired from the session, so Pasty will go on board with him. Currently in 4th place, finished just outside of the points last time out. He's another driver who was in F2 last season, didn't finish around this circuit. The race was won by Iamotti, who put in a solidified qualifying performance in F1 earlier on today. Pasty's dropped a bit of time then in that middle sector because it was looking pretty good through the first sector, so gets it right for these final couple of corners. As I said earlier, can still find his way up. Only 76 thousandths at the moment separate him from a front row of the grid for the Renault driver. Renault, one of the teams not to get any points, but it looks like they're going to do better here. But Pasty couldn't find any improvement, stays in 4th. That will probably be qualifying over for him. What can William do? Can he get himself onto the front row? Not improving at this moment in time. So you've got to say it's looking pretty good for Sam and Coutinho at the moment, unless we see someone from lower down. Everyone out on track at this moment in time, apart from Suku and, well, Giggs has just come out, but he's left it extremely late. I can't see him getting round the tracking time, so we'll see what William does. Stays in 3rd despite a good improvement in that final sector. 1 minute remaining in qualifying then. Boehner currently in 9th place. You've got Fedele just behind him as well. He's in last place and he finished 2nd last time out, and it's not like he's a long way off. Only 6 tenths off pole position at the moment. Just needs to find 3 tenths and he could find himself on the front row here. So Boehner, we'll see what he can do. Found an improvement in Sector 1 and he's improved in Sector 2 as well. He's about 3 tenths up, so he gets his right through the final sector. We could see someone topple Sam off the top of the timing chart. Sam was the first man to set a hot lap, and it was good enough to get him on pole position. He's been there since the 17 minutes and 40 seconds of this session pretty much. Sam has been on top. But what can Boehner do in the racing points? Just not quite enough, but that's a very respectable lap time. Puts him into 2nd place for now. Fedele, he's going to be the last man, I think, to get another chance to set a lap, and he's going to need it. So Fedele's gone for like a 2nd warm-up lap here. Checkered flag is out. Coutinho, is he finding any improvement? No. Dives into the pits for him, so Coutinho won't be able to improve. Giggs still on his out lap. We know there is a bit of a timing glitch, so he might be able to set another time, and it seems like it is allowing him to do so. Pasty, obviously, and William just coming up towards the pit lane again. 4th and 5th for them at the moment. We'll have to see if they get toppled any further down the order. Pedro, he's heading around Sector 2 at the moment, not finding massive improvements. Alejandro coming around the final corner. He has found a big improvement. Can he challenge these top 5 drivers in the Alfa Romeo? Didn't have the best final sector last time. He's had a fantastic one here. Gets himself onto the front row provisionally. Can Boss Wanted improve? No. Invalidated his lap. He will stay in 12th. Speedster, also invalidated. He won't go any higher than 9th. A lot of drivers having trouble with track limits on the final lap here. Drez, he's coming across the line. Can he move up from 11th? Indeed he does. Goes into 6th. Sam heads towards the line. Can't find any improvement on his lap. Pedro staying in 13th. And Samo, the man who got the victory last time out, he is in 4th place, and it's only his teammate on a lap at the moment and Giggs. And Fidele's invalidated. He will be last. Giggs definitely has a top 10 slot. He's improving ever so slightly as well here now. So will he be able to move at the moment? We've got some support here in the chat for Suku. 9th place for him this time around. If he got a podium last time, we'll have to see if he can do that here. What can Giggs do as he heads towards the time? Can he move any further up the order? I think it was a slight timing improvement, but no position improvement from the Haas. So for the second race in a row, we have a Mercedes on pole position. It was Desso's turn in Australia, and now it is Sam Gamer official with pole position. And let's not forget, he crossed the line first in Australia, only losing it on penalty, so definitely one to watch out for. Alejandro, 6 thousandths ahead of Boehner, presenting the racing point from getting on the front row. Last week's race winner, 1,000th ahead of Coutinho. They're 4th and 5th. William, 6th. Dres in 7th. And look at that, you've got 4 cars separated by about 1/10 of a second there. Then it's Pasti, Suku, Giggs rounding out the top 10. Speedster will have fresh tyres, as will Boss Wanted, Pedro, and Fidele. And I feel with how close qualifying's been, this is going to be a very close race indeed. So drivers will just be checking out their tyre strategies now, seeing what they want to go for. If you want to see the action from any other of the races, now live we have all the PC and the Xbox tiers. They are currently live now. That includes PC Tier 1 and Xbox Tier 1. And we've also got the lower tiers as well, from the PC all the way down from 1 to 4. They're available on the AOR channel. And of course, you can watch them after this race. But judging by how close it was in that qualifying session, and judging by the bit of fire, it's safe to say that Sam has in his belly after last time out, not getting the victory purely because of picking up too many penalties. This could be interesting to see how he reacts indeed. Was a bit frustrated with the way his season went last time, got involved in a few incidents, showed some good pace on occasion, but a lot of the time it just didn't come together in the race for him in season 19 back on F1 2019. But it's a new season, a new game, and he definitely looks to be having the pace tonight compared to everyone. But we'll just have to see how those tyres last on his car. Everyone outside the top 10 has gone for not the soft tyres, it's safe to say. Everyone in the top 10 when you had the soft. Speedster and Fidele on hard. Boss Wanted and Pedro on the medium tyres. So this could get very interesting indeed. Boss Wanted and Pedro will be wanting to move their way up, both invalidating late laps and late attempts to move up the field, so perhaps a bit out of position. You could say similar with Speedster and Fidele as well. You would expect some good pace from these guys. As we said, Fidele got a podium last time. Speedster managing to just get 1 point, but again, he was another driver not to have the best of luck. And you can see there, medium to hard coming up as a strategy. 2 stops, soft, medium, medium. I'd be surprised if we see anyone do that, to be honest. But 1 stop for those on the soft tyres, soft to hard, is definitely the fastest. It just depends how well they can manage these tyres. But I wouldn't write out anyone outside of that top 10 for a podium. We could easily see this. Sam with that pole position. Last race out, his teammate had pole position and retired. The killer curb at the turn 11-12 chicane in Australia, that's caught many people out, and there's a few curbs here we've mentioned in qualifying that could easily catch you out. So hopefully we don't see any of that. Hopefully we get a bit more of a straightforward race. Safety cars, you can see them here, especially around, as we mentioned earlier, coming out of turn 7 and through turn 12 to 13. If you just catch them curbs a bit wrong, lose the car and end up out of the race. But it's Sam who will be leading the pack away from pole position. Last week's race winner will be in 4th. He'll be hoping for some overtaking and streaming past people this time around here in AOR Hype Energy F2. Will we see him get his second win of the season, or will it be Sam, or will it be someone a bit further down the field? Boehner with a very good qualifying to go on with his good race result last time around. He's in 3rd. Alejandro on the front row, hoping to get Alfa Romeo's first points of the season from the front row of the grid. But for now, we've got 5 lights here. And we're underway in Bahrain. It's a fairly decent start, you've got to say, from Sam. He'll be able to cover off Alejandro on the run down to turn 1. Straight away, Boehner looks as though he's going to be trying to challenge around the outside, perhaps. We've even got William trying to throw a nose up the inside, but it's Sam in the lead of this race for now, holding off from Alejandro. Boehner's third. Samo has actually dropped down a couple of places as well. Boss Wanted has moved a long way up the field as Pasty has spun round, so it's been a good start from one Renault, a bad one for Pasty and a bad one for Giggs as well. Not sure if either of them have got any damage. There's a battle here between Fideli and Speedster, the two on the hards from 11th and 12th. So them hard tyres costing them a bit on the start line, as you might expect. But it's Sam still in the lead. No change between the top three. Simo, the last week's race winner, dropping down 2 places. Coutinho and William both getting past one. And I'm not sure if it was Pasty and Giggs that might have come together. They were in 8th and 10th. Very possible they could have done. But you can see Boss Wanted, Pedro and Fidele, biggest winners on lap 1. But Sam getting away for now. Boss Wanted could be very exciting to watch indeed. On those medium tyres, as long as he could just hang within the DRS range maybe, or some of those ahead of him, this race could start coming to him. How long will he be able to stretch them mediums? It'll be a big ask to get to stretch them for the hard tyres. For the soft, sorry, at the end. He'll probably do it to change onto the hards. But if there's a safety car a bit later on in the race, which could happen as fatigue starts to set in, especially if anyone else on worn tyres or anyone who's trying to push a bit harder makes a mistake, it could all come to Boss Wanted as Simo. See, has Samo disconnected, or is this just a classic timing tower glitch, which I think it may well be at this moment in time. I thought last week's race winner was in a bit of trouble then. I do apologise for getting a bit excited and a bit emotional over that, but no change then at the front. Top 3 as you were. Coutinho in 4th place. Last time out, if incident with Pasty cost him any chance of points when the Williams driver looked to be going for a good points position, but he's looking okay now. Needs to avoid running wide, as Sam will tell you, penalties can cost you, especially if there is any late safety cars that end up bunching the pack up together. He's just about staying in touch with those ahead. Williams a bit closer to the back of that Williams. He's got Simo all over the back of him, and the DRS trains that you see quite often on 2020 with the dirty air making it a bit harder to overtake. It does tend to lead drivers wanting to stay in the DRS zone but never quite getting close enough to get an overtake done. You can see at the moment, second down to 7th would get DRS. As would Boss Wanted, as was Pedro, as would Giggs and Speedster at this moment in time. And the first time they'll be able to use it is on the run down to turn 4, because the detection point is before the end of this corner here. We'll be approaching lap 3 at the end of this one then. It's still Sam in the lead of this race, and by half a second from Alejandro, who's half a second ahead of Boehner. And you can see already some of the drivers starting to move over to one side of the track. Sam just trying to break that slipstream. Not sure if there's a lot of benefit of doing that at this moment in the race. He wasn't really under threat from Alejandro, who's actually just about stayed within DRS range. It did pop up over a second, but he's still in DRS range at this moment in time. You can just see all the cars flying back. Williams still stuck behind Coutinho at the moment. Boehner in 3rd place. It looks like Sam's beginning to break away from some of these guys. Suku right on the back of his teammate, the McLaren's Liner Stern in 7th and 8th at the moment. Then they've got Boss Wanted, Pedro, Fidele. Giggs has managed to come back a bit. He's got ahead of Speedster. I'm not sure if he's made a mistake, because Pasty seems to have caught up quite a bit to the back of the AlphaTauri as well after his first lap incident. Good to see there was no damage between them, and good to see obviously that we have still got all 14 cars running here in round 2. DRS open on the McLaren then of Suku, but just not able to catch up to Drez, perhaps not even trying to catch up to him at this part of the lap. Knows that turn 1 is a better opportunity, and this might show if there's any teamwork going on between these guys. You've got to say Drez is definitely not keeping up with that front pack of 6 cars up ahead, and maybe Suku's getting a bit frustrated behind at this moment in time. So I think we could see a swap soon. Whether that will be an orchestrated swap or a straight overtaking position, we'll have to wait and see. But here we go. Suku's going to open the DRS on that McLaren behind, and he's going to be closing on the straight. And Drez, unsurprisingly, doesn't really even bother to defend, and that is a swap between the McLarens then 7th and 8th as Giggs, his comeback is on, gets past Rail for Daly. He's just 1 place off the points now in 11th, making the best use of them soft tyres while they're in a good condition, because we could see a few drivers who feel like they're getting held up pit in the next couple of laps. Still no change at the lead of this race. Here's the view from last week's race winner, as I thought William was perhaps thinking about throwing one down the inside there. And Simo just going a bit deep into turn 8. Didn't really show any fantastic pace in the first stint. No offence to how he did. He kept it nice and clean and drove a very good first stint. But it was the second half of the pace. He really came alive in the second half of the race on the alternate strategy. This is the first time we've seen him this season. Obviously, with it only being the second race, using the more conventional strategy. So it will be interesting to see how he fares. But if he shows that pace again on the harder sets of tyres that he showed last time out, could come to him after the pit stop phase in this race. At the moment, though, he's just concentrating on trying to stay on the back of William, who is staying on the back of Coutinho and looking very racy indeed. I think if we're going to see a pass between these front drivers, this might be the one that is the most likely. But with that Williams having the DRS open, as you see there, splitting the Williams name on the rear wing, which I sincerely hope stays in Formula 1, and we're talking about the Williams team on F1 2021 and many games beyond, I hope. Because he has DRS, Williams not really able to do anything at the moment, so some of these guys in this train might be the first drivers to pit. Alejandro's just about keeping within that 1 second window of your race leader at this moment in time. And as soon as that gets broken, I was going to say he'd get into trouble, but you can see Boehner's actually dropping back as well. So the front three seem to be spreading out a bit more. So maybe Boehner, in that racing point, he's now becoming a bit more... He's becoming a bit more of this cork in the bottle. You can see Coutinho, William very close behind, Simo as well. Suku's not been able to catch up to these guys as much as perhaps he would have wanted. Dres definitely isn't hounding him as much as Suku was hounding Dres when they were in the opposite order. And Botswanton and Pedro definitely catching up. And Giggs dropping back ever so slightly. So maybe those on the soft tyres that are stuck in traffic seem to be struggling a bit more. As being the racing points ran slightly wide. That's going to compromise his run down towards the final corner here. And he may need a final corner. Locks up ever so slightly. Luckily for him, Coutinho does the exact same. Goes very deep. And this might even give William a chance here. You can see already the racing point having to go defensive on the straight, trying to break that toe. And Coutinho, is he going to be close enough to go round the outside into turn 1? Just not quite able to get it done. But that has forced the racing point onto a suboptimal line through 2 and 3. Seems to have got a fairly good exit out of it though. DRS open once again on the Williams. Is he going to be able to do anything on the run into 4? No, he is not. And this battling and defending could just lead to these front two getting away ever so slightly. It's now a 1.1 second lead for Sam, and it's just hovering around a second from the Alfa Romeo to the racing point. The Speedster picking up a penalty on those hard tyres. One of the drivers from AOR F1, let's not forget last season, doesn't seem to be going to plan for him here. And Williams dropped back ever so slightly. I think I just saw him get a bit of wheel spin coming out of turn 8. That's allowed the Red Bull to get a bit closer. The Red Bull's got a lot of wheel spin out of turn 10, and you do see that happen a lot out of that corner. Drivers getting a bit trigger happy on that throttle. Not a lot of traction obviously at low speeds, and you're trying to put a lot of load through these Pirelli wheels. They do not like being spun up, and you need to cool them down pretty quickly, otherwise you'll start losing grip later on in this race. But it's looking fairly close between the top 10 at the moment. Giggs just dropping back ever so slightly, breaking off into slight groups. Sam now with a 1.4 second lead as we head towards the end of lap 6. He's looking pretty controlled at this moment in time, as we are seeing the first driver to blink on strategy, and it is the Ferrari of MNT William. He's into the pitch. Dres coming in as well at the end of lap 6. Mediums going on that Ferrari. Is that a suggestion of a 2-stop strategy? Because I can't see you making it to the end on 23 lap old medium tyres, and even if you do, you're not going to have any substantial pace. You're going to look like a very well used Eraser there by the end if he's in any trouble. I don't know why I said Eraser, I'm not American. A very well used rubber. Dres, he's come out on the hard tyres as well, so it looks like he's going for the much more conventional one-stop strategy. But William trying the undercut here, maybe, just maybe, trying to get himself out in free air. He was around 3 seconds behind Sam Gamer, so it'll be interesting to see when these guys pit, because if this works and William does get in free air, as Alejandro's been off circuit man in second place has gone off at turn 10, similar to what we saw Simo do last time around, but much more dramatic. He's lost 2 places, and that's put the Red Bull all over the back of him in these early stages. So, first real mistake we've seen from any of these front drivers today, and that is Alejandro was in second place, had kept that position from the start, but was losing a bit of time to Sam, who's now got a 2.5 second lead. Coutinho all over the back of Bainer then at this moment in time. Giggs picks up what I believe is the first penalty we've seen anyone pick up so far today. Are any of these lead drivers going to pit? Bainer leaving it right until the last minute. He comes into the pits then. Alejandro and Semo Casiaro following him in. We're seeing a lot of drivers now dive into the pits. Hard tyres will be going on the Red Bull. Hard tyres going on the Racing Point as well. So it's only the front 3, Giggs and Pasty at the moment, who have stayed out on them soft tyres, and you can tell, you can definitely tell with Giggs' pace that the softs have perhaps reached their peak and are struggling, as Boss Wanted battling with Suku now for 3rd and 4th place. Suku might not have a hold on that 3rd place for long. We said Boss Wanted could come alive and could be one to watch out for. And it looks like, you've got to say at this moment in time, that 2-stop strategy, if that is what William is on, might have worked out beautifully, because he is ahead of Payne. So William in 10th position at the moment, the leader out of everyone that has pitted, and you'd expect him to come out ahead of Coutinho as well, as there's a bit of a tap between Boss Wanted and Suku. Thankfully, no damage done, but I think Pedro had to avoid that. He's got the DRS open, just tucked back behind the Renault Slipstream. These two need to work together if everything. They don't want to be battling too much. Just using the DRS to save a bit of fuel maybe and save a bit of ERS. They could really come alive at the end of the race, but the dirty air will be killing these tyres. So they'll be hoping that this McLaren in 3rd place, where he finished last time out, they'll be hoping this McLaren dives into the pits at the end of this lap. As we do see the race leader get it slowed down to 50 miles an hour, 80 kilometers an hour in time, and all those on the soft tyres coming into the pit. So that's going to put Boss Wanted into the lead. More conventional strategy then for Sam than what William went for. William just coming around the final corner now. So I think Sam is going to be well clear of the Ferrari. Everyone from the softs has pitted. It's just the top 4 drivers that are yet to pit. And actually this might be a bit close. Maybe not into turn 1, but definitely could see a run from the Ferrari here on this first lap. Would be the time to do it, because those hards will not be up to temperature yet on the Mercedes. So Sam retains the net race lead, currently in 5th. William going for what I suspect is a 2-stop strategy. He's currently in 2nd, well, a net 2nd in 6th. You got Bainer and Coutinho. Alejandro managed to stay ahead of Samo then in all of that action, and Drez jumped his teammate once again. Giggs also going for the medium tyres. He's got a slight chance of stretching them to the end, but again, I think it will be very unlikely. As Sam locking up his front left, we'll see that a lot from all these drivers through turn 10, especially when the tyres get more and more worn. But these two could just start to pull away from the field, especially with the pace that Sam showed. And we know William looked very racy indeed. I think he'd have wanted to get ahead of that Mercedes, but as we saw so many times over the last couple of seasons in real F1, and it's not something we're sadly going to see a lot this season, the Ferrari drivers have just got a view of the rear of that Mercedes at the moment. Sam in 5th place, and he's the leader out of everyone who has done a pit stop. But this is the battle for the lead between Pedro and Boss Wanted. Just behind them, you've got the 2 drivers who started on the hards of Fidele and Speedster, the sister teams of AlphaTauri and Red Bull battling it out. And Speedster didn't have the best run out of turn 3, but he's just about far enough ahead for now, as Coutinho sends one round the outside of Bainer. Is he going to be able to get that move done? That Racing Point's still going to be there. And I think he's just about done it. We expect Bainer to try and fight back though with the DRS coming down towards turn 3. Coutinho leaves the door ever so slightly open, goes wide through 4, and this might just give the Racing Point a better exit, but he can't take advantage, can't get alongside, and that is a swap then. Seeing the Williams of Coutinho trying to get his first points of the season. He's up into 7th, could be looking very good for a podium, as actually we've had a swap then between William and Sam Gamer, as we saw the Williams and the Racing Point battle for position. Coutinho has got up to 7th, but William is up into 5th. Now he's got to use those medium tyres and basically drive 8, 9, 10 qualifying laps on those mediums. Maybe try maybe try and get to a stage where you can put the soft tyres on. That is the only way he's going to get anything, I think, fantastic out of this race, because with the pace he'll be having to do, he's definitely not settling at the moment. Doesn't look like he's settling for a one-stop strategy. He's got 11 seconds of free air ahead of him. It'll be a long time before Speedster and Fidele come into the pits, and Williams just got to use these medium tyres and drive like he's never driven before if he wants to take a victory, as Fidele has got ahead of Speedster for now. Last week's runner-up takes second position, but expect Speedster to try and fight back. He's going to have the DRS on the run down to turn 4. Just not got enough of a good exit and didn't bother using his DRS either. He's going to settle for that 4th position for now as he gets a bit of a twitch. Bit of a twitch on the back of that Alpha Tauri coming through turn 4. So it's Pedro then in the lead of this race from Boss Wanted. Then for Daly and Speedster. William now leading out of those that have pitted, but still a long way to go. And still anything could happen here as Pedro's run slightly wide coming through turn 10. Boss Wanted with that DRS open. Not using any ERS. You don't really tend to use it too much down that straight unless you plan to go for the overtake. So you might even have been able to save a bit of fuel down there. I'm surprised we don't see a bit more lifting and coasting to see some fuel saving so the drivers can run rich towards the end of the race and A, try and steal a fastest lap, or B, just try and steal a few more positions where some of those around them might be struggling. But these guys are very good. They know what they're doing. There's a reason I'm behind the mic, not behind the steering wheel, because I'd have binned it in the wall and I'd be about 2 laps down now probably on these guys if I kept it facing in the right direction. So you can just see here, Boss Wanted is closing on Pedro, but not able to get close enough. And because he's staying in DRS, that's helping him stay in contact. The same is true then of William and Sam at this moment in time. You can see Sam here closing on William, getting up to 202 miles an hour in that slipstream, so around 323 kilometers per hour there. And just because he's closing, this is going to make it very hard for William to get away, and it's helping Sam pull away from those behind him. He's now 1.5 seconds ahead of Coutinho, who seems to have pulled far enough away to not be under any pressure from the racing point of Baena. Alejandro is in 9th. Simo, last week's race winner, still in 10th, so we'll have to see if he can try and work his way up at the moment, as Williams earned himself a penalty. That's how hard he's pushing to try and break the 1 second window that Sam currently finds himself sat in, because if he doesn't do that, this could be a very comfortable victory, even if William tries desperately to get those mediums to the end, and I can't see him doing it. If he does try and do it, Sam's just going to have a lot more grip towards the end of this race, and it should be a fairly straightforward pass if we get to that situation. Still though, obviously, a long way to go in this race. So this is a battle for the net lead. This is the battle for the net 3rd position at the moment. You can see Coutinho, Baena, Alejandro just a bit further back. They're all a bit spaced out again. Saw this early on from them, all staying just over that half a second where you don't seem to be able to break the window. As Boss Wanted, he's gone in a bit earlier than I expected on the mediums. I thought the drivers would try and stretch it for at least another lap or 2, but he's into the pits. First driver then on that alternate strategy to blink. He comes in, comes out on the hard tyres. I believe he'll be coming out in last position as the 2 McLarens are weaving their way down the straight. Suku dropped behind Drez after the pit stop period. He had jumped his teammate earlier on and seemed to be pulling away ever so slightly. They're now battling for 10th and 11th, and Boss Wanted has come out just ahead of his teammate. The Reynolds, who have no points in the Constructors' Championship, look as though they might struggle to get any today, as they're down in 13th and 14th position. See the entire field separated basically by a pit stop at this moment in time, and that's going to make it hard for William as well. He could come out in last place as Drez completely off the... Yeah. I think the less we say about that crash, the better, maybe. And it's a full safety car. It's a full safety car. All Pedro's Christmases and Fidele's and Speedsters. Well, maybe not Fidele and Speedster, because they'd have to go on the medium tyres now, and it might be a bit of a struggle to get them to an end. But all of the Christmases for Pedro have come at once here, because he's going to be basically get a free pit stop here and could end up coming back out in the lead of this race. William, will he take advantage of this period to get rid of these medium tyres? Again, practically getting a free pit stop. Will we see the entire field maybe coming? But here we go. Yeah, Pedro into the pits. I think this has changed everything with the way this race is going. He's going to put on the hard tyres. Fidele and Speedster have got to go for the mediums, otherwise you're admitting that you're having to pit again, and that is going to be very, very bad news for you. Now, Sam stays out and is going to jump ahead of Pedro then. So Pedro's going to find himself up into 3rd position all of a sudden, caused by that crash with Drez. We saw him, I don't like to accuse, we saw him run over the curb at turn 6 and 7, and then it just looked to me, he might have had a technical issue, but it looked to me as if he's just floored it straight towards the barrier, and that is what has caused this safety car then. So Sam and Courinho in the lead. They stayed out. Giggs, surprisingly, he stayed out on those medium tyres. If you wanted to go stay on the mediums, I'd have pitted and put another fresh set on if you had any, which he will have done, having started on the soft. I can see why Sam and Courinho stayed out. Fairly fresh hard tyres. I can't see why Giggs stayed out. That could cost him towards the end of this race then, which has been neutralised by Drez's crash. Courinho gets himself up into 2nd. Sam then back in the lead. Pedro, the biggest winner, you've got to say, alongside Fidele and Speedster. Pedro having to go for the hard tyres because he started on the mediums, whereas the Red Bull and the AlphaTauri behind him were able to put the softer medium compound on. So if they can get them to last towards the end, they could be in the box seats here. Safety car will be staying out for another lap, and obviously you don't put anywhere near the load through the tyres under the safety car. It's about 2 laps under SC conditions, equivalent to about 1 lap under the full green flag. They'll also be able to save a bit of fuel as well, get all the VRS back up to a nice high level as well, to make sure they've got the full battery when the racing starts, which you'll need to overtake because you won't get DRS for the first 2 laps after the pits and after the safety car dives into the pit lane. So safety car staying out for another lap. We've nearly got the entire field together. It's just Pasty at the moment off the back of the field. See here, nearly everyone apart from the top 6 has done 2 stops. Pedro, Fidele and Speedster taking advantage of the safety car period to do their one and only compulsory pit stop. Everyone else taking advantage to just get a fresh set of tyres on. Will this put Sam and Courinho under pressure? Oh, and Giggs. Giggs, I'd say definitely. These two, it could be interesting. We saw Sam break away earlier. Will he be able to do the same again once the safety car pulls in? Because I think his chances of getting the win, and Courinho's, part of it might depend on Pedro in 3rd, to see if A, he can hold on to these guys, and if he can't, how long could he hold those behind him on the medium tyres? How long could he keep them behind him? William, he's also on the hard tyres in the other Ferrari, so surprised he didn't go for another set of mediums, to be honest, unless he didn't have a fresh set. But that 2-stop strategy for William, he was in the top 5 earlier on, he's now in 7th, and everyone around him has softer tyres, so this could be very difficult indeed for him. The Red Bulls, who were 1 and 2 last time out, we've got Fidele obviously in 4th, and last week's race winner, down in 10th position at the moment, spent most of this race in 6th. He's still behind Alejandro and Reina. They've lost a few places under this safety car period. They weren't quite close enough to really keep their position. William, you can see, stayed ahead of them as well, but obviously Sam and Courinho staying out. All those top 6, well, 1st, 2nd and 6th, sorry, deciding not to pit. 3rd, 4th and 5th taking their compulsory pit stop under the SC then, which should hopefully, now that Pasty's nearly at on the back of the pack, just seems to be going slow and then going fast again to catch up, and we've already seen that can catch drivers out. Could see a few 5-second penalties once the flashing lights come off on the safety car. There we go, we're going to get 14 laps of racing then hopefully here in Bahrain to round off the 2nd round of this AOR season, and it's still the pole sitter in the lead. He is now effectively the safety car. Got to get some heat in those harder tyres, harder to warm up than fresher tyres, harder to warm up than the medium tyres. Only done what's the equivalent to about 4 or 5 racing laps, so shouldn't be too bad. And I think as soon as he gets to the exit of this corner, he's going to put the throttle down. He's nearly caught up the safety car, but he might have timed that pretty much perfectly. In fact, he did have to slow down. Courinho's not had the greatest of starts. I expected to be him to be all over the back of the Williams, and we could see Pedro here make a move to get up into 2nd place. The Ferrari goes to the inside line, so bad restart from the Williams of Courinho. That's allowed Pedro to get up into 2nd. Fidele looking as though he wants to battle as well. He's hit the curb, he's off in the gravel. just about keeps it pointed in the right direction, but he's going to move down to nearly last place. It looks like Pasti is actually going to get ahead of him, and he's had a bad start once again. Alejandro then trying to get ahead of William here in that Ferrari on those harder tyres. If they squeeze wheels here, it could lead. It could lead to exactly that. The Alfa Romeo spinning around. He's going to drop down then to last position now. So it's not been the cleanest of starts. Sam, though, he's just got away from all this chaos. He nearly caught up the safety car. Be interested to see whether he slowed down because he was worried about that, or he slowed down because he was forced to. But he's got a 1 second lead now. Pedro in second, Coutinho in third. Speedster is in fourth place after Fidele's had that spin. Giggs hanging on to fifth place at the moment. Bain 6th, Williams 7th, Simo 8th, BRT Boss Wanted is 9th, Suku in 10th, then Pasti, Fidele and Alejandro all seem to have had problems on the restarts at the moment. But this is good news for Sam that those on the mediums aren't able yet to get ahead of him, as it is Speedster going to try and go down the inside into turn 14. It looks as though he was trying it. I think he just took too much curb there. May have earned himself a warning for that. No DRS until the end of the next lap. First time they'll be able to use it is on the run down to turn 3 here, but it looks like Speedster looks like he might not need it. Is he going to look to the inside? Is he going to send one down the inside into turn 1? Very late on the brakes, perhaps a bit too late, and Coutinho able to get that position back, and that's just allowed Pedro to get ahead a slight bit more. So Speedster's definitely fighting here. He wants to get his first podium for a while here in AOR. Didn't have the best season last time out in F1. And you can see Giggs, despite having them 7-lap old tyres, he's still fighting in this. He's got that racing point all over the back of him. Alejandro obviously dropped down after contact with William. William in 7th on those hard tyres. He's got Simo, Boss Wanted, Suku and Pasti all over the back of these guys. But one guy who doesn't seem to be involved in any battle at this moment, the race leader, just seems to be getting away as it looks as though Simo there for a second thought about a move into turn 10. It's not really the opportune passing opportunity. So here we go, race leader then. Just over 12 laps to go. Got a 1.5 second lead at the moment. Andy's kept it clean for now for penalties. I will have a more detailed check later on. But the longer those on the fresh mediums like Speedster and Boehner, probably only those guys, because everyone else has got a lot of traffic to pass. So the Speedster has got ahead of Coutinho actually down the inside. Must have got a fantastic run coming out of turn 13. So he's already ahead. He's going to have to use his ERS down this straight to defend that position. Coutinho not really fighting back. So Coutinho just staying in 4th for now. Then Alejandro, unsurprisingly, he's got fresh air. He sets the fastest lap as Boehner down the inside of Giggs da Costa then gets 5th place, and he's going to have DRS. So we've got an AlphaTauri on a potential podium place here, and could well get the victory if he can manage these mediums. He's got Pedro now up ahead of him on the hard tyres. Pedro won't have DRS, so you'd expect in a couple of laps' time this could be fairly straightforward pass for Speedster, who's going to have 3 DRS zones to catch up and make an overtaking. Or, as we saw him do on Coutinho, maybe doesn't even need DRS, because that's a couple of times he's got a very good exit. Coming onto the second to last straight, coming through turn 13. He nearly got alongside Coutinho the previous lap, and then this time around has managed to do it. So Coutinho actually seems to be struggling on those harder tyres, on those more worn harder tyres as well. Him and Spam were the 2 on the hard tyres not to pit. And it looks like Coutinho is struggling a bit more. He's dropped back already quite some distance from Speedster. He's soon going to have the racing point. With this man Boehner all over the back of him. He got good points last time out, as we said, 6th place. On for a top 5 finish at the moment, and even he might sniff a podium. With Pedro and Coutinho not too far ahead in this DRS train, and I don't think Speedster wants to be in this train for much longer. DRS open, straight down the inside, can take the racing line into the braking zone, and that is him up into 2nd position as Boss Wanted trying to go all the way around the outside of last week's race winner. He'll have the inside for 2, gets himself a penalty, gets a bit of wheel spin, and the Red Bulls able to fight back. Both of them having DRS. Is he going to try the Lando Norris path all the way around the outside at turn 4? Just can't get enough of his car alongside. And Suku, who also got a podium last time out, he's fighting to try and get some higher points. Pasti, Alejandro behind, trying to get their first points of the season. And it looks like Alejandro's got some good pace at the moment as he's got past Fidele and seems to be catching back up to these guys. And that race lead is coming down very quickly indeed. It's just under a second all of a sudden. Sam on the older hard tyres, Speedster on the fresher mediums. We know Sam is probably, so far in this race, shown the best outright pace, as William has now got past ahead of Giggs. Those worn mediums really not going to hold out, I don't think, until the end of the race in any decent condition. So that is Giggs down to 7th, and I don't think it'll be too long before we see a few others getting past him. That might be bad news for William, as he needs to try and fight his way up. But Sam's, as I was saying, Sam's been the fastest driver this race, seemed to pull away, but Speedster's got the tyre life advantage, he's got the tyre compound advantage, he's got the DRS advantage, he's got the fastest lap. Is he going to get the lead of this race and down into turn 1? Just running out of time. He's running out of ERS as well, and Sam's got a bit more to play with. Once you get down to 10%, you really struggle. So, I'll be surprised if Speedster goes for it this time around, as it looks like Giggs is fighting with William again, and now Suku and Boss Wanted a swap in position. So these two are breaking away from Pedro. Speedster doesn't have to worry about defending, just needs to save a bit of ERS maybe on this lap for an assault down into turn 1, and then to try and break the gap. Because later on in the race, it might start coming back to the race leader, who's staying ahead for now, half a second ahead of Speedster, and Pedro in 3rd, Coutinho in 4th, Bainer 5th, Giggs 6th, William 7th, Simo 8th, Suku is 9th, Pasti is in 10th, as Alejandro has retired from the session. Hopefully his car doesn't cause any 2 issues, as it looks like he's got a bit of damage. And hopefully his AI driver finds a nice convenient place to park that car. Otherwise we could have another VSC here. So Alejandro looks like he's just decided to retire. And that might cause another safety car, you know. Or at least a virtual safety car. We'll have to keep an eye out for that. Hopefully it doesn't, with only basically 9 laps to go. It looks like Speedster's got a bit more ERS this time. And Sam feeling the need to break the slipstream. He's going to run out though. Is he going to have enough tyre grip to maybe send one down the inside here, or send it round the outside as Sam goes defensive on the run down to turn 1. Speedster's going to try and go all the way round the outside, try and get that overlap into 2. And Sam well within his rights to squeeze him ever so slightly there. Nothing doing, and that's another lap. The longer this goes on, the more things play into the hands of Sam, and maybe even start coming into the hands of Pedro, who obviously pitted under the safety car as well, but went for the hard tyres, as I think Sam just clonked that curb a bit too much. Coming through turn 4, nearly chucked him off the circuit, but manages to stay facing in the right direction. Eight and a half laps to go here then. Still Speedster fighting all over the back of Sam for the lead of this race. Just over a second gap back to Pedro, Coutinho, Bainer, Giggs, Williams, Simo, Suku, Pasti, Boss Wanted. All those drivers have got the DRS at the moment, and you can see the pace advantage on the brakes Speedster's got at this moment in time, as Coutinho picks up a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. If he gets a few more penalties than everyone else, that could even still drop him out of the points. Sam picks up his first penalty. I think Speedster's got one as well, so that might have equalised them on the penalties here. Again, Sam's got that slight advantage on the ERS, about 10% more. So Speedster's only really able to use the ERS on the early part of the straight. Even though he's got DRS, he's not really catching Sam up. Now Sam will have switched out of overtake, and now Speedster might have a chance again to go all the way around the outside into turn 1. He tried it on the last lap. This time I think he's thinking about getting the cutback for the better run down to turn 3. Here we go again. Sam, this time is he able to defend? He goes to the inside. Will Speedster be able to go all the way around the outside on the brakes into turn 4? This would be a fantastic move if he can pull it off. It's very late on the brakes from Sam. Speedster picks up another time penalty there, and that could make it hard. Can he go around the outside at 6? Not able to do so, as Suku's off the circuit. Able to recover, doesn't look like any major damage, but this defending's getting pretty feisty as now Simo. He finds himself spinning round as well. You can just see a battle between Pasti and Fidele. So, one Red Bull's fighting out on track for the final point. Last week's race winner in 12th. They got a 1-2 last time. Fidele looks like he's only getting 1 point. Simo looks like he's getting none, as Speedster's down the inside into turn 12. That is a very late on the brakes. I don't think he'll be able to keep the overlap there. He's trying everything, and it's allowing Pedro, Bainer, and all these guys to catch up. You can see Speedster looks like it's getting a bit personal between these two now, and this could go wrong very early on. think Sam wanted Speedster to overtake him there to get the DRS off him, but he's far too wise for that. So here we go again. Take number 3. Sam again defends very early on, tries to break that slipstream, hugging the inside line. Speedster, is he going to be able to go around the outside this time around? He's tried it a couple of times earlier, hasn't worked. Thinks about the cutback, gives Sam quite a hefty tap up the backside, it must be said. And now you've got Pedro right on the back of these guys, who's got a lot more VRS. Will get a double slipstream, and in a couple of laps' time might be on the preferable tyres, so could still see a Ferrari taking the victory in this race here. Even a racing point. Boehner's in 4th place. Top 5 drivers separated by 1.8 seconds, with Coutinho just behind. William not too far back. Then you do have a bit more of a gap back to Pedro, Giggs, Pasti, Fedele, Suku and Simo. The 12 cars that are in this race separated by 10.5 seconds, partly down to a safety car. But he was looking extremely close between the front few cars before that, and it's staying that way now. Now we saw Speedster try it last time out. That's a bit of a late defence from Sam, and Speedster this time able to go all the way around the outside. He takes the lead of this race then on lap 23. Will he be able to break the DRS window though, or will Sam just get him straight back on the run down towards turn 1? We'll have to wait and see how the AlphaTauri driver and last year's F1 driver copes with leading a race. It's I think it's fair to say it's not a feeling he's had for a while here in AOR, but Speedster leads as we start lap 24. What's been a fascinating Bahrain Grand Prix. Sam not really closing too much at this moment in time. It looks like he might go for a late lunge on the brakes down the inside. Bit of wheel banging between the two of them once again. Speedster, though, does actually get the slightly better exit now because of that. Now, though, he's got the ERS on, so has Sam. Sam's not able to close up. Pedro right behind these guys. This could all get decided on penalties, but I don't want to check the pause menu because I don't want to get away from what's been a great battle. Sam again, not the best exit through turn 4. Loses a tiny bit of time here. Pedro running wide. That might allow Boehner to have a move down the inside. He's tapped the back of the Ferrari. Thankfully not done any damage. Goes over the curb. That's going to give Coutinho a chance. Well, any one of these top 5 drivers could end up taking the victory here. I think, for being honest, it's probably going to be harder for the man in 4th and 5th, Boehner and Coutinho at this moment in time. But William, he's catching up ever so slightly. Pasti's not got the clean exit out of turn 10 that he'd have wanted, and that might allow Fedele to try and go all the way around the outside. Giggs holding on valiantly to that 8th position at the moment, but on 14 lap old mediums, they are going to be pretty stuffed, I think it's fair to say, towards the end of this race. And I will now quickly check the penalty situation with 5 laps to go. Speedster has 2. Sam only has the 1 at this moment in time. Pedro also has 1. Boehner has 1, and he looks like he's on his way to another one. Coutinho also has 1 penalty. So Speedster needs to get 3 seconds ahead of all these guys. So we'll check William very quickly as well, because he's actually within 3 seconds. William, he has 2 penalties. So out of the front 6, you've got to add 6 seconds on to Speedster and William. 2nd to 5th place, add 3 seconds on. So this puts Sam in the pound seats for now, as long as he can stay within 3 seconds with 5 laps to go, as long as his tyres don't drop off to the point where Pedro might be able to get an overtake done as well. Or even Boehner or even Coutinho. This is going to get very tasty, I think, in the final stages here. It seems to have calmed down a bit between Speedster and Sam at this moment in time. Speedster seems to still have a slight pace advantage, but because, as we saw earlier when Sam was behind William, because Sam's got the DRS, he's staying in contact. And it's not a lot Speedster can do about that, because he's having to try and use his ERS to try and break away at this moment in time. As further down the back of the field, Suko and Samo see him battling all the way down, even if it's for outside the points at the moment. These two are on the podium. It doesn't look like they're going to get anything for their rewards today, but they're still fighting hard for over 11th and 12th position with 4 and a bit laps to go. And Suku's not going to find a line around the outside there. Might have to try it in the number 46 McLaren in that DRS zone. Pedro's dropped back ever so slightly from Sam, and this might give Boehner a chance with the DRS and the slipstream. He's very low on his ERS though. Fedele has finally managed to get his way past Giggs, who I think is now really starting to suffer on those medium tyres. He's got 3 laps to try and keep that 3 second gap back to Samo. he wants to get his second straight point finish of the season, as Suku has used for DRS to get past last week's winner. That is the McLaren up into 11th, even though he's gone very deep into turn 1, and this might give the Red Bull a chance to fight back. He's going to be forced a long way around. Great straight line speed, I must say, on that McLaren. Pulled away, even with the DRS, although Simon's gone all the way around the outside. That'll be a fantastic overtaking manoeuvre if he can pull it off. Great commitment on the brakes from the Red Bull driver. We know Alex Albon likes going around the outside. Looks like Simo does as well. He's up into 11th position. Back to the lead battle though. Speedster not breaking that 3-second window. If it finished now, he'd finish down in 5th position. It's pretty borderline with Coutinho. He might actually get to 4th, and let's not forget that's where Sam finished last time out, after he crossed the checkered line in 1st. So a bit more work to be done if Speedster wants to get the podium, because it looks that's more what he's fighting for at the moment rather than the win. He might be hoping that this man drops off, and he's not really at the moment. DRS allowing all these guys to stay in contact. Coutinho's dropped off ever so slightly on the harder tyres. That might give William a chance, who was going for a 2-stop anyway before the safety car came out. That might give him a chance to fight his way up the order. We'll check the position changes at the moment. Speedster and Pedro going up 10 places. I said starting in 11th could be a fantastic strategy, and it looks like it is going to be. Surprisingly, after all that's happened with Coutinho and William, and Pasty and Giggs, you could say, they're still in the same place as what they started in. So here we go. DRS open for William. Is he going to be able to go round the outside into turn 4? No, I'm surprised they didn't go for the inside there, because it looked like Coutinho did just leave the door open ever so slightly. And still Speedster can't get away from these guys. Sam, Pedro and Boehner are just sort of stuck with him at this moment in time without really going for an overtake. Perhaps Sam knows that the man in front has one more penalty, so he knows he doesn't really need to, and he spun Speedster round. If Pedro's close enough, he might get a better exit here, and he might be able to take the net lead of this race. This could get very exciting indeed. I think Sam's going to go for a move down the inside into turn 12. Speedster closes him off, and Sam's round. Oh, and Pedro's gone into the side of him, and Boehner, I think, has got damage as well. And all of a sudden, this race has got extremely messy. Pedro's got big front wing damage. They're trying to go 3 wide. Keep it calm, lads. Keep it calm. It was all going so well. Sam gave Speedster a slight little tap into, I believe it was into turn 10. And then Speedster just sort of shut the door on Pedro. On Sam, sorry, on the run down towards turn 12, and then it's all got very messy indeed. You saw Sam trying to go 3 wide with William, and Boehner and Pedro, innocent parties in all that. You can't really say they've done anything wrong, and they've both got huge front wing damage all of a sudden, but Pedro's decided he doesn't want to pit because he knows with the time remaining, only 2 laps, he'd lose more by pitting, so he's going to try and hold on. Coutinho, all of a sudden, if he can hold on, he could take the checkered flag first here. Has Speedster got any front wing damage or any damage whatsoever? Can't see any at this moment in time. As you can see how much Pedro's struggling through these corners now. Sam trying to go all the way around the outside. He should be able to get that position done. No, he's not for now. I don't think Sam's got any major damage here. And William, he's in a fantastic place. You can see how wide Pedro's going there. I think he's fought valiantly after that incident, but it'll be very interesting to see what the stewards think of that, because messy is the word I'm going to use to describe that. But it's allowed Speedster to try and pull away that 3-second gap. It's 0.3 seconds in Coutinho's favour at the moment, as Pasty now gets ahead of Boehner. Boss Wanted up into 5th. Going very well for the Renault drivers at this moment in time. Fidele still in 9th place. Expect him to maybe gain a few places then. We're coming on to the final lap of the race, and is Speedster in the lead then? 3 seconds ahead of Coutinho. He's 1.5 seconds ahead of Sam, as William gets past Sam, uses for DRS, so we could see William on the podium here. He's up into 3rd position. It looks like Pedro was thinking about a move on Boss Wanted. Fighting very well, I must say, to say that damage on the front wing. It won't cost him as much through the slow speed turn as Boss Wanted makes an absolute mess of the exit through turn 3, and Pasty's right behind him as well. Don't go for... Oh, I thought Pasty was going for a very late dive there. And in the end, he's got ahead of his teammate, Boss Wanted. Don't want to crash into your teammate at this very late stage in the race. And again, this is all getting very exciting. You can see there, Pasti's managed to get ahead of Pedro. Cutback just forces Pedro off circuit ever so slightly. Fidele managed to get ahead of Boehner. He's also going to go round the outside of Pedro as well into turn 10. So that's Fidele up into 7th. The two Renault drivers still battling tooth and nail at this moment in time. Pasti is currently in 5th. Boss Wanted is in 6th. Looks like Williams got away from Sam as well, and looks like Cugino's looking safe, but Speedster went for the medium tyres, made a few good moves in the first few laps, got ahead of Sam. We saw it get a bit rubby and a bit racy between those guys, and then it all came to a head at the end of lap 27. I don't think Speedster's going to care though. He's going to take the victory here in round 2 in Bahrain. It's Speedster for AlphaTauri who wins. Cugino crossing the line second. Penalties drop William down into, well, actually dropping down to 6th. Cugino second. Pasti third. Sam 4th. Fidele 5th. William 6th. Pedro and Boehner with that damage holding on to 7th and 8th. Boss Wanted gets 9th. Didn't catch who got 10th place, but the safety car caused by Drezzer's crash making things very interesting, and we've seen for the second race in a row the alternate strategy seems to be working here in AOR F2. Speedster takes the victory. Cugino gets 2nd place. Pasti getting 3rd. And after Red Bull domination last time around in the first race in Australia, I don't think any of them actually finishing in, well, actually, yeah, Fidele and Pasti keeping it clean. That's what promoted them up. So Speedster gets the victory, but I think a few of these drivers might find themselves in the stewards. Cugino finishing in 2nd. He managed to get through that carnage without any damage. Pasti as well kept it clean. Great job from him to finish in 3rd. Sam, pole position to 4th place. I think he'll be a bit miffed with how that turned out. Fidele kept it clean to gain 9 places. He finished 5th. Great job from him. William, penalties costing him a podium in 6th. Pedro and Boehner both unfortunate to get damage. They're 7th and 8th. Boss Wanted 9th on his debut. Giggs holding on for 10th. Last week's winner out of the points this time in 11th. Suku nearly getting him on the line in 12th. We saw Alejandro retire on track. We saw Drez potentially crash out on purpose. Definitely did have damage though, and I'm not sure whether he had any issues, but a very exciting race. Lots of action happening, and I think if I was for stewards, I'd get a pot of coffee on because they could be here for a while. All started on lap 27. Sam gave Speedster a slight little tap into turn 10. That gave Pedro a run down the straight. Sam then went for a move on Speedster. Speedster looked to close the door at the last minute. That led to contact. Sam got spun around. Pedro and Boehner got caught up in that. They got damage. And that is when it all kicked off. And that is the end, though, for this race. We'll leave the stewards to see that. Hopefully we'll have the results to share with you next time out, where it'll be round 3 of the season. As I said, the first new track we're visiting on F1 2020, the Vietnamese Grand Prix. Make sure to check out all the streams on the YouTube channel. Make sure to check out all the other action during the week. Plenty of Assetto Corsa and Project Cars 2 action to keep you entertained. But until next time, good night.